where we have to find the truth about our journey as a people. Nigeria is so diverse. We are trying to become one people, one nation, so to say, and we will get there if we, well, in my opinion, if we do well with our constitutional exploration or re-engineering of the country. That is quite fundamental. That's the only way to one nation. It's not party politics, it's for us to come as diverse people, 289 diverse ethnic group, and come together. Well, Chief and Under Chief Tony and Nauru, we compressed it after very thorough research into 200 ethnic nationality, which includes the Ewe ethnic nationality from the Republic of Benin. So we are so diverse, and the basis for conflict is there for us as a country, because we are diverse, we are different set of people. We have the Hausa, we have Kanuri, we have Igbos, we have Yoruba, from different background, different history, different culture, different religion, multi-religious, multicultural, multi-ethnic country like Nigeria. It's quite fundamental that it's quite sure, certain that there will be conflict. But it's also an asset if we explore it well, that diversity. It's an asset if we deliberately bridge unity and harmony. We can work it out. But it's unfortunate that the kind of ruling class that we have had wants to divide us than unite us for their self-serving interest. That is the crux of the problem. And we have to do something about it. We have very distinguished Nigerians in here who will be dissecting our national journey forward, especially elections, which is the kernel of every democracy. Without elections, election is the most concrete of every democracy or democratic venture. And therefore, it is important for us to look at our elections. How do we engender credible elections? How do we also have a consultative governance? In which case, government will consult the people, the citizens, in foisting or in bringing about a policy. So we need all of that. We need all of that as a people. And that is why we are gathered here today to look at the way forward for our country. We are mindful of the fact that some programs are still going on and they will end by, say, 2 or so thereabout. But that notwithstanding, we have to start at 1, and then others will join us, because this is very critical. The nation is at a crossroad. Our country is at a crossroad at this point. We have what we call electoral crisis that can be likened to what happened 30 years ago with the June 12 election. People who have disagreed with what has happened, on February 25, 2023. Parties have disagreed, and so they are in court peacefully to seek justice. And that is not good enough for our democracy. We're still contending in the court because of flawed and massacred election. INEC really didn't do well, so to say. I wish that the INEC chairman would come here and talk to us about what happened on the 25th February. I mean, that would have made our day, but maybe this is not time. Some of those things may be termed sub judice, according to the lawyers. But it is time for us to move the nation forward. It is time for the people to take their nation in their hands. It is time for the people to own their country. Constitutional exploration is part of it. And then policy, consultative policy decision is also part of it. We have a crisis in subsidy removal that is ongoing. And so that's part 2 of our discussion. And we have invited people like Dr. Kalu, Idika Kalu. I may have to call them in to come and help us in that. The NLC president is expected here The TUC president expected. Labor activists are expected here. Former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. We've all invited them. Let us hear. This is a family meeting. This is going to be a family meeting. This is going to be a national dialogue. It's not going to be war voice. We want to do Georgia, the round table. Let us see the issues. Let us see what solution we can provide to those who have state powers at the moment, so that they can navigate us out of crisis. Because so many people are dying every day out of poverty, out of hunger, out of prostration, out of impoverishment, and so on and so forth. It is the duty of the rest of us who are, well, somehow still in peace to take them out of that so that they don't all die. So, distinguished Nigerians, ladies and gentlemen, this is Democracy Day 2023. It is the 30th in session. We fought for that democracy. We were in the trenches. We fought the military to stand still. Some of us are field commanders of that struggle. We control the field, moving the people on the street, and then making sure we have less casualty. Though we had casualties, people died, people were maimed. And so the heroes of our democracy and the heroines and martyrs, or as if we will have to really appreciate. They paid the supreme scribe. Chief MKO ABIOLA paid the supreme price for this democracy. And Chief Tony Enauru of blessed memory, my leader, who also mentored me, also paid a huge sacrifice for this democracy. And he told me, he said, this is not the Nigeria that he moved the motion for his independence before he died. He said that this was not the Nigeria he moved the motion, because he used to tell me stories about Nigeria. He moved the motion in 1953 for self-rule, for self-government of Nigeria. But he died regretting. He died. He even told me at some point that maybe we should go and call back the British to come and help us again. I said, but Papa, it must be you. I won't be able to do that. That was the only thing I rejected, because there are so many things we did together with Chief Enauru. Testing waters, mobilizing the people, getting the people together, running a major national conference under the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, with Professor WOLE SOYINKA, who will be expected to speak to us today from wherever he is, because Professor SOYINKA is an international citizen. I remember when he was to leave the country and to go into exile. 3 times they took him back. I told him, I would tell him, I said, these people will take you. We are 22A, Lalubu Street, Abeokuta. Both of us will sit down, and then we tell me that I have to go, my passport. He will take, when he went, his passport was seized by the Abacha government. I said they will take it again. I told him again, he took it again, 3rd time, until he was able to devise a means to get out through the Nadepo route. He was the leader of the NALICO, National Liberation Council of Nigeria, and did so many things, including supporting our struggle, even with resources, his own personal resources, Professor WOLE SOYINKA, with his own personal resources, because I would be on the field going around, and they would do. So these are great icons. OLISA AGBAKOBA just spoke with me now, and I told him he'll be leading the speech. And he said he will come. Shehu Sani is expected to join us. We also have Chief Emeka Anyokwu, who will join us. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is also expected to come in. I'm going to drag everybody in to say we have started. When I yield the floor to my co-convener here. But then I want you all to know that today is the day that we are going to find solution to two things: democratic governance, electoral, credible elections, and then consultative governance as it relates to the economy. It's not enough to be government. You must rule by the people. You must consult. You don't run by fiat and say something is gone. No. Even Babangida in his Maradonic venture did not do that. Set up committee, commissions, upon commissions, MAMSA, zero party cookie commission, which had all kind of dragging everybody into governance, including SOYINKA, including Taisho Larin, Oyo Vare, all of them were dragged in. They felt belonged. It was consultative. And that was my amazement when I conducted a research on Nigeria's constitutional exploration. I tried to critique Nigeria constitutional venture between 1886 and 2012. And I saw that the Babangida regime, in terms of being consultative, was more profound than the Buhari civilian administration, or even Jonathan at that time. Jonathan tried at the tail end to bring about a constitutional conference, though it was appointed and not elective. And that was the limitation of that. But then that could be taken forward into a bill and to a constituent assembly so that a constitution of the people can be made. This is what we have learned over time, working with Chief Tony Enauru and working with Professor Ben Nwabweze, who is still alive, who is an authority in constitution making. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to yield the floor and also call for some, because we have what we call an intervention. The organizers have an intervention to make on the present crisis in the country, which has to do with the fuel subsidy and well, don't let me use such word, the hike in fuel prices. I will yield the floor, but let us know that this is going to be BAM. I have been assured that we are good to go. In James, the media is streaming live already on all the platforms, and I expect all the national television that we have contacted to also hook up. We have sent the link, and they have promised to hook up, so you may find yourself speaking on national television. We'd like to thank you for joining. We also encourage you to call in others. Organizers here should please go and call in others that we have started and want to find solution to the crisis of Nigeria. We must find that solution. As they come in, we call them to intervene. There are two topics. One is on the electoral crisis flowing from the presidential election of February 25, 2023. The other is the fuel subsidy crisis, which has generated something very outrageous in terms of pricing of petrol fuel. And that is causing hardship and causing protest. And the Nigerian people are protesting it. And they will protest it because that is not the way to voice the policy. Government must be consultative. Government must be consensus. Government must be for the people. Government, even in Agbada, cannot be military. You cannot do military. Otherwise, those of us who fought the military will also fight you. We fought the military, You fight with us, we will also fight you. We appreciate people who can put their video on. Yes, they are. Ambassador Honorable Comrade Nkoyo Toyo is standing by all the way from Calabar. Just like I'm standing by here, I'm sitting here in my own village, you know. Yes, I see Excellency PeterObi joining us. And I'd like to welcome him. That's the word, is the leader of the people. Mr. PeterObi has joined us. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will be joining from Dubai. He's doing his medicals now, but he will join us. That's Atiku Abubakar GCON. He's going to join. Chief Emeka Anyoku will be joining. His Excellency Yemi Osinbajo has also promised to join. And so we'd like to welcome our distinguished leaders who have joined us. This is a tortuous journey, but no government should behave in a military fashion. It's not possible. The Nigerian people, though you fought for democracy, you will be resisted by the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people have that resilience, but they will resist every dictatorial tendency, particularly when you foist policy and you are not consultative. And Babangida did, though we fought Babangida at that time, but he did better than those in civilian government. It's far better in terms of control. So I will like now to bring my sister, co-convener. Is OLISA AGBAKOBA in already? Because we just spoke now. OLISA AGBAKOBA SAN is our leader. Is supposed to be here, but then before he comes in, we need to have a formal intervention of the organized civil society and pro-democracy group. And my sister is sitting by, standing by, far away in Calabar. That's Honorable Ambassador Nkoyo Toyo. Very beautiful face and smile. Is going to come on board now to intervene before we commence, take goodwill, and then take interventions from our speakers. I thank you very much as I call on Ambassador, Comrade, Honorable Nkoyo Toyo, the leader of the United Action Front of the civil society, to address us, intervening on behalf of the group. Thank you and welcome once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader Che, and it's a privilege and honor for me to be part of today's celebration of a great day. We are very honored to have in our midst the Okute of Nigeria, His Excellency PeterObi, and the many other very distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have joined the platform. We're indeed grateful to all of you, and we hope that in spite of all things, we'll have a very rewarding engagement and conversation this afternoon. Today is a very symbolic day for many reasons. It's symbolic in the sense that this is 30 years. It's symbolic because it comes also at a time when the country has just come through an election that has many of the mannerisms and characteristics and ingredients of the election that happened 30 years ago. Some people have actually shared with us in their own language that this is a question of two elections with two mandates of the people stolen. That the election that saw Abiola not being president was one in which the mandate of the people was lost and stolen. Again, people feel that this mandate again has been taken away from the people, and that the choices that the people made do not quite represent what we ended up having at the end of our elections in February in particular. So there is a lot to do in terms of the commonalities that exist and in terms of the spaces that need to be engaged with. What is important about what we are trying to do, and I'll step back a little bit to give a context to it, is that we are holding to a space which we believe is very fundamental to the revival of our democracy, because the fear that has evaded the entire political firmament is that if the rules that govern democracies are not protected and not held onto, we will have a free fall of democracy. The democracy is going to become the winner takes all. Whoever has the might and whoever is able to exercise that might in whatever form or manner begins to have the say in terms of what happens in the end. And we cannot, in the long term, even in the short term, build a democracy around a system where the rules do not matter. And for us, we think that many things have happened in February 2023, which suggests to us that the rules were grossly undermined and that we need to go back to raising the bar and raising the standard and calling on our institutions and calling on the rules that we have established over the years to begin to become applicable to the kinds of democracy that we have. It is in the light of this conversation and in the light of the fact that many of us were part and parcel of the 1980s and 1990s, where we fought the military, and the pro-democracy movement stood its grounds to tell the military that, look, you cannot determine how to run the country without the inclusion of the people. And we worked for the return of democracy. That those voices that represented that era got up together and said, look, it's time for us to re-energize, to return, to remind ourselves as well as remind Nigerians of that history and of that moment. And as a result, we said to ourselves, what is it that we can bring to the table in the face of what has become a very contentious election and a very, situations where people have become extremely disappointed in the outcomes that came out of this. And we agreed that if it's a democracy, it is a democracy. We will respect the rule of law to the point that we recognize that the courts are a conflict resolution mechanism, a mechanism that is going to help us resolve whatever disagreements we have with the politics and the polity and the elections that happened. So the fact that we are a group of people who believe that the rules must count are also the group of people who believe that the courts must be given the space to have their say. As a result of being people who are mindful of the legal context in which we run our democracy, we are also appealing to all our citizens across the country that as much as it is within their rights to come out and demonstrate today and protest today and speak up in support of what's going on or against what's going on and celebrate the fact that democracy is something we want to behold, we are also saying that that must be done in the context of the law. It is not something that we have to do arbitrarily or something we have to do as though we haven't recognized our own personal histories as well as the histories that have brought us together. So this is a space for us to have that conversation about what does it mean to rekindle that sense of this community that we represent. We are saying to the entire country and to the president and to all who care to listen that we fought for this space. We stood up. The pro-democracy movements, the human rights movement, the women's rights movement, the youths and many other movements came together. The ethnic associations and so on came together and worked for this democracy. And they still have a voice and a right, irrespective of whoever is seated in government of the country. And if there are things we feel that are not done in the way which it ought to be done, we do have a right to bring our voices to bear in that space. It is on account of that that we are first and foremost having this dialogue around the issues of that contested election and the way forward. We are aware that the legal process is something we are bound by, but beyond that, we also have to be sensitive to the expectations of Nigerians as we go forward. Then there's a second nauseating, I will call it very nauseating experience for us as we were just trying to contend with the issues of the elections itself and the fallout of that elections and the expectations of the judiciary and the huge national deficit that we have in terms of trust of any of our institutions, as it were, when we got this message, subsidy is gone. I mean, a declaration was made with huge implications for the country, and the declaration was made in a very callous and insensitive manner. We ended up with a 270% increase in the cost of petrol and PMS, and we are now thinking of what do we do by way of cushioning. I was amazed to sit down on television and watch people from organized private sector meeting with Mr. President, saying to him that we will offer the country 100 compressed natural gas buses. And I'm asking myself, is that for Abuja? Is that for Lagos or for Apapa? Is that for Apapa or for mainland? Or where exactly do you start to apply 100 buses? And it begins to make an impact on what has become such an important decision that transcends all levels of society. And like we say about the subsidy, it is something that is in everybody's pocket. It affects every pocket and every family and every household in the country. So how do we begin to do that? And you can see how ill-prepared government was. The government at the subnational level, some have declared that you come to work for 3 days. What that means in the long term, nobody knows. Are people going to start working from home? I mean, which means that they need to be provided with some sort of online capabilities to be able to work from home? Or what exactly is that policy about? It is obvious to all of us that this hasn't been thought through and that there isn't a plan on ground. As much as the president will want to celebrate this as a strong decision, this is a strong decision that is headed nowhere. And we are calling on the government to pay attention to the needs of the people. In my own words, I would say government hasn't got a right to be insensitive to the needs of its citizens. The citizens are the responsibilities of government. And that's what our constitution says, that our welfare, our protection, our everything that has to do with us is the business of government. And we must get back to making sure that government is in a position to deal with that. So just to say that these two hydra-headed problems are the problems that have brought us into this conversation this afternoon. And it is our hope that we will have a very strong and rigorous conversation. We hope that you understand, like the rest of us too, that this obnoxious decision that happened on the 28th or 29th of May was actually directed not at the people who have turned subsidy into a commodity of crime, but to the ordinary citizens of the country who have been scapegoated and made to pay for something they had no reason paying for, which is the unfortunate part of all of this. Let me stop at this point in time, but before I do so, we have issued a statement, and I would encourage us to please go back to the statement which was issued on this issue of subsidy. Before then, we had also worked closely with Labour and supported them in the strike actions they had taken. But unfortunately, the negotiations that Labour went into were abrupt. We felt that Labour had not consulted as widely as it should have done. We also felt that the TUC's negotiations with the government in power was only to cover a very limited number of persons, because from all indications, those in the formal organized employment of government are fewer than 10% of the population of Nigeria. And whatever agreements TUC and NLC have reached have no reach for the rest of the country. And that we as concerned civil society citizens need to work up there and hold that space for the over 90% of Nigerians who have nobody speaking up to them. So we had initially supported the strike action, but when the TUC and NLC moved on to call up the strike, we made our own demands independently. We called on this government to explain to us how it arrived at the template, which it has used to come to the price of 530 something naira per liter. We said to them that, look, the conversation is not about the removal of subsidy or not, but the question is about the removal of the fraud in subsidy, and that conversation has not actually happened. We wanted to know, for example, what's going to happen to the 800 million World Bank subsidy loan, which was collected from the World Bank before the end of the last government, and its utilization. We've heard that 50 million households will be identified, how that will be done and in what regard and for how long, we just don't have we don't understand what's going on that front. We also know that the PIA is already in operation, and that although this government wants us to believe that the decisions it has taken so far have been a decision that is independent of the PIA, but we also know that in the context of the PIA, there are certain obligations which government must pay attention to, and we want to know to what extent the decision on subsidy being done is addressing those concerns. We worry that there's a lot of talk about us paying for the PMS at a price of 540.50, whereas the Vice President himself had recognized and spoken about a very powerful cartel in the oil and gas sector. And no reference has been made since the declaration as to what will be done about that cartel. That cartel seems to be enjoying a very close relationship with government, and nothing has happened to suggest to us that beyond punishing the ordinary citizens with this new price and this inflicted and callous price on fuel, that something has to also give way on the other side. We've seen through some of the write-ups of SAN Femi Falana that there are many other subsidies that people in privileged positions are enjoying. And we believe that what needs to happen is that the cost of governance as a whole needs to become a matter of negotiation. We shouldn't pay this price for just the sake of paying the price. We must pay the price in the context that we understand that the basis for the negotiations are that the gains that will be made. The Vice President talks about savings that will be made. And our question is, what is the savings going to go to? If we pay 550, who is gaining from the savings that he talks about? We fear that what we are going to see is a replacement of a fraud by another fraud. And so we want to be very, very, very clear here that this process has to be as transparent, open, accessible, and consultative as possible. And we in this space, irrespective of our number, size, and ability, will continue to hold our voices and make a demand on government that whatever is involved in this has to be before. So in effect, what this whole thing boils down to is that we need a whole new economic outlook to the country, an outlook that says we have to move away from spending a lot of our money privileging a few to spending a lot of our money dealing with the problems of the larger numbers of Nigerians. That shift has to happen. It is both a shift that is economic and democratic, because the majority should have the say at the end of the day. So this has been our fulcrum. People have tried to drag us into arguments of templates and everything. We believe that when this discussion gets into the nitty-gritty of it, we will, as a community, draw together our experts and all those who have deeper knowledge of the issues before us to make that conversation. It doesn't end as a conversation between ourselves. It's also a conversation between us and the key players in government to make sure that this time around, there is a genuine commitment to addressing the needs of the ordinary citizens of our country. So we're grateful that all of you have joined us this afternoon, and to say that this represents the beginning of many more actions and conversations, and to demand and to request respectfully to all of you that whenever we call, you would understand the space that we're trying to hold here. The space we're trying to hold is a space that says we are the representatives of that democratic space that we fought for. many decades ago, and that we are the voices of those who try to uphold the values that define it. And those values are a rules-based approach to democracy and to governance. Thank you very much for your time and for listening to me. I will now turn around and cede the space back to my colleague, Comrade Chair, for him to carry on with the moderation of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, distinguished. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, distinguished Honorable Nkoyo Toyo, for that very incisive and elucidating analysis of the problem and what is to be done, as agreed by the Labour Civil Society Front and then the June 12th movement. You've done very good justice to that background. And we have seen that one of the panelists have joined, SAN, Professor Ozekomeh has joined. I was trying to get His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. Maybe he's still having his medicals or he has joined, I wouldn't know. But I'm in touch with him though, to see that he comes to say his good will. And I'm in touch with the handlers of His Excellency Yemi Osinbajo. The Lagos State people who have come to ABIOLA residence to learn it. We need to apologize for those who have gone to airport hotel, that we are unable to do that at this time for tactical reasons. But we have converted already, and then we are going to do it. I must appreciate our leader, His Excellency PeterObi, who has been very tenacious, and he's a people's man. Wherever you find the people, he's always there. You know, it shows that he's a true leader. He's been here on time, you know, to solidarize with the Nigerian people and to show that he believes in this cause. It's such a wonderful, wonderful leader to emulate. So we'd like to welcome him. We'll give him time, but not now. But I would like, before we take our excellencies, to have one of the veterans with us in those days who were fighting, you know, universal defender of democracy. That was the outfit at that time. We were on the field together. They were leaders. That's Chief Mike or Professor Mike Ozekomeh, to intervene because he will have to stay till the end, because he knows much of these things that we are doing together. Before I call on our excellencies, I would like to bring to the microphone an eminent defender of human rights and democracy universally, Chief Professor Mike Ozekomeh SA, the Akpakpa Fiki of Edo land, to speak to us, to lay the background to the two topics. We have two topics here. We are dealing with the electoral crisis, you know, flowing from February 25, vis-a-vis 93 and June 12, and we are also dealing with the fuel subsidy scam, which has foisted on us what you call outrageous hike in fuel price. So, Professor Mike Ozekomeh, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Veteran Chair. Thank you, my beautiful sister, Ambassador Nkoyo. that just spoke. You can see from the background that I'm actually in Atiku. I'm going to the airport. I just left the airport hotel at IKEJA, where I went to after the solidarity songs at the graveyard of Chief MK ABIOLA, and after laying the I decided to quickly head Wale Okuni, who now told me that we were no longer meeting physically or in persons, but virtually. I welcome all of you. The two topics are quite germane in our present circumstances. Let me start from the first one, that is the electoral process. I thought by now we should have gone beyond the stage of the BVAS, electronic transmission, IREV. Areas that smaller countries like Kenya and Malawi, South Africa, have already gone beyond. I notice we are still talking a presidential election having hitches, not being transmitted electronically through the BVAS to IREV of INEC. Even whilst the same election, the results of the same election held at the same time, using the same, using ballot papers put in the ballot box at the same time. That is the senatorial and the House of Representatives elections were seamlessly transmitted electronically using the technology that INEC itself had told us again and again and again that was going to be deployed. Then suddenly, like the way Fela would put it, the BVAS and everything developed what INEC called glitches, and everything was off for nearly 24 hours. And that was when the results of the presidential election were said to have been got. And we had the president declared in the wee hours of the morning. I will not speak on the merit because aggrieved parties, including my brother and friend PeterObi and his Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar and his PDP, are already in court. So the matter is sub judice. But it aches me to no end to think that in the year 2023, we should still be talking about mad elections, fundamentally flawed elections, when as far back as 30 years ago, June 12, 1993, Bashorun Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, otherwise MKO, had already won an election fair and square, still adjudged till date as the freest, fairest, most credible, most transparent election in the history of Nigeria. Abiola ran on a Muslim ticket. Nigerians did not give a damn about that because though very worthy, he was highly pro-people, pro-masses, using his wealth, according to him, like manure to fertilize the wretched lives of the downtrodden. So Abiola won even in police barracks, military barracks, beating his closest rival, Alhaji Bashir Tofa, even in his Albasa, Jadi Poly Unit and Ward near Zoo in Kano. That was how credible that election was. How come Abiola was not declared the winner? I hereby call on General Ibrahim Badamisi Babangida that he has an explanation to Nigerians before he eventually passes on. Who are those people he said were part to the annulment of that freest and fairest election? These witches and wizards that dwelt in the coven to deny Nigeria of perhaps a person would have become the greatest president in this country, whose entire program was Hope 93. He also that explanation. He said there were some people within the military and within the civil police. Let us know these people so that history will not adjudge him as having known too much but said too little. I'm therefore not happy that we should still be talking about our electoral process, which even the Ways report that came out of a committee set up by Yaradua, who had agreed and accepted that his own election was flawed. God bless him. May so rest in peace. All the recommendations in that report have never been implemented. That is why we are where we are. For those of you who were with us at the 2014 National Political Conference, National Conference, where 492 Nigerians met from all strata of the society, all professions, all religious divides, all linguistic divides. We made over 600 recommendations. How come no government since then wants to touch these recommendations, even with a 10-foot pole? If we had touched them, or even if we touched them, and restructure Nigeria and allow Nigeria, I was in the subcommittee as to what to do with the recommendations of the National Conference, and we agreed that those that were not controversial could be enacted into laws, but that serious matters like constitution involvement should be taken up by the government in power towards having a people's constitution, an autochthonous, people-driven constitution that enjoys their legitimacy and credibility and believability, not the present schedule attached to Decree number 24 of 1999, which is the present constitution that has already been amended 4 times and still counting. So we need that people's constitution, whichever president finally anchors after the election petition has run its full course up to the Supreme Court. Even if your only agenda, apart from looking to the welfare of the masses, which is very critical to democratic dividends, even if your only agenda is giving Nigeria a people's constitution, wherein they will buy into through a referendum or plebiscite of the people, as was done in Kenya, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Eritrea, in South Africa, in Iraq, in Iran, in Bangladesh, and heavens did not fall. Even if that is the only other point on his agenda, apart from giving democracy dividends, then he would have succeeded as a president. Because for as long as we continue to pretend that all is well, treating an ailment like a boy with eczema, or like a boy with a serious boy that has become cancerous with medicine meant for ordinary skin disease, for so long will Nigeria continue to be on a journey to new destination, compassless. On the second issue, and very quickly, in the Asiwaju Tinubu government has said it has allowed and removed subsidy, and that the government has no apologies for that. Very well and good. But I thought it was Tinubu and others, including former President former President Muhammadu Buhari, and the major players in Buhari's government, and even those ones, as we already seen emerging from this government, who actually shut down Nigeria in January 2012, when Jonathan said he was removing a little of subsidy by increasing the fuel price. I think it was then about 85 naira or 90 naira to about 110 naira, and it was forced down to about 97. Nigeria was literally closed down from Abuja to Lagos, Ibadan to Osogbo, Benin to Owerri, Umuahia to Calabar, Aba to Onitsha, Kano to Kaduna, on the ground that there was nothing like subsidy, and that in any event, the subsidy was just by the people they call thieves.
You lost?
Yeah, veteran, I think we lost.
Okay, we lost him. Okay.
He's frozen.
Okay. Because he's in transit, he's in the vehicle. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we lost him. He said much, though. Said much about the two topics, two agenda before us. And so we can excuse him at this point. He will stay back when he comes in. I see, Doctor, I'm tempted to, well, let me announce for you that Atiku Abubakar is having his...
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Maybe you should just round up, sir.
I just want to end it.
Yes,
I want to round up. I want to round up.
Yeah.
I want to say that the people will still be punished for this so-called removal of fuel subsidy are the masses who are already beleaguered at the receiving point. There's no big man in Nigeria today, the state captors, even those who run a fleet of about 50 to 30 cars, who will not drive their cars because they have removed subsidy. It is that poor man who received 20,000 to 30,000 naira in a month. We must look at this issue critically as to whether it was necessary, so that we do not suffer what Professor Cloud Ake called a disarticulate economy, an economy where we produce what we do not consume and consume what we do not produce. I thought we are producer of oil, one of the largest producers in the world. Shouldn't we have an opportunity to enjoy our God-given gift? Should we suffer like other countries that have never seen a drop of oil? These are critical areas that I think the government should look at, so that the masses do not die, because a general without an army will not have any army to control. If our government survive and we do not have the people, then Armageddon is here. I thank you for this opportunity. And may God bless you all. May God bless Nigeria.
Thank you. God bless Nigeria, the Papa Fiki of Edo land.
Thank you.
The universal defender of democracy.
Thank you.
Nigerian senior advocate, and one of the most brilliant in the civil society.
Thank you very much.
Professor Mike Ozekomeh, SAN. We appreciate that intervention. We pray we don't have an Armageddon. We are trying to avoid the Armageddon. That's why we have put this together. because Armageddon will take everybody will go with the Armageddon.
Yeah.
And we don't all want to go with the Armageddon. And that's why we are doing this. Government may not know. They may think we are troublemakers, but we can see beyond our nose. We see better than them because we live with the people. We are of the grassroots. And therefore, we have to put this together to share the way forward. Thank you very much for that intervention. I will still hope to hear from you.
I appreciate all of you.
Yes, we hope to hear from you even in the course of this program. Yes, now I'm tempted.
Permit me if you do not hear from me again because I'm about boarding a flight. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's understandable, but I know we will hear from you. I am 100% sure we'll hear from you. All right. Safe trip. Let me at this point, because in Yoruba land, we say Gunlani Kanyibale. Those of you who are here may not know because they are not Yoruba. The big masquerade is the one that will come last, of the Igbale. This is the Igbale of Nigeria. It's the national dialogue. It's been recorded. Notes are being taken. Whatever we say here, we go to government, we go to the people to mobilize them, and we go to the private sector. It's a tripod for development. And that was what we learned in Koyo Toyo in 2003, Shugab. That was the kernel of the discussion. Private sector, government, and civil society. And so you cannot ignore the civil society. Those are the mouthpiece and the voice of the people. It's not possible. You get it wrong. You can't say subsidy is gone with fiat. It's not possible. You won't be able to do that. Subsidy is, that's fiat. That's military. And we won't allow that because that is not by consensus. It's not by consultation. And consultation breeds development, breeds stability. So we still have in the house our leader, Mr. PeterObi, but he's not going to come because Atiku Abubakar is still having, I want him to be here before they speak together. But now let us quickly call an intervention of one of the speakers who I can cite here, and that is Dr. Kuripamo Agari, who's been a permanent secretary, very experienced on subsidy issues, on even democratic issues, and can intervene for 5 minutes because we are going to be very brief now. Intervene. Control room, I hope you can cite Timebi Kuripamo Agari, Dr. who is Mama Labor, is permanent secretary of the Ministry of Labor and Productivity, and also gone through some of these things. I can see Comrade Uguma Jumalaki in the house, the former immediate past president of Committee for the Defense of Marasidecha. I welcome you. So let's take Mama Labor. Can you unmute Timebi Kuripamo Agari for 5 minutes before we begin to take our leaders? Are you there? Madam Agari, doctor. Dr. Agari, can you unmute her? Hello? Control room, please. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. She's been asked to unmute.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, madam.
Thank you very much. I have been unmuted. It's an honor and privilege for me to be here. Yes, I just want to first commend my labor friends for suspending the threat to strike last week. I believe strongly in dialogue and negotiation, and don't want to be political, but just to advise governments, having been a past participant in some of these issues, that government should really seriously engage in dialogue and negotiations. This last negotiations, I think, was greatly flawed because it would seem like government tried to intervene to break the ranks of labor. Because I read the agreement, I didn't understand how TUC had their own list of demands that featured in the agreement that was subsequently released. So it's very important. Of course, I've been involved in this fuel subsidy thing. And my point is, yes, we can remove the fuel subsidy, but I think that Nigerians really would need to see that template, the template that NNPC uses to determine the cost of fuel. Because from past experience, there are so many items that Nigerians should not be charged for. And so in 2023, with the PIA, there should be transparency in the pricing. Because if we have deregulated, my point is, why is NNPC the one that is determining the price? Because there is no way that a private marketer will sell below what NNPC has fixed. So for me, first, labor should intensify every effort to engage, and government should also engage in good faith, trying to split labor and creating conflicts within the ranks of labor. Like I could perceive, because I saw Jehuson dropped out of the threat, I think NNA. So I think that these things, and it impugns the integrity of labor. So labor unity is very important. I will leave the issues of politics to those who are familiar with it, and wish Nigerians happy Democracy Day, and hope that going forward, we'll have real democracy where the voices of the people and the choices of the people will matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mama Labor. That was very brief and straight to the point, and we got the gist. That's a very instructive one, particularly for our friends in the labor movement. The NLC president is in Geneva, and I'm going to bring him here. I don't know the time difference, but we spoke yesterday, and he sent one Mr. Adeyonju or Comrade Adeyonju. We represent him physically. And I said to him that he has to speak via Zoom. So the NLC president, but then since we have our leader here, I hope he hasn't stepped out, Mr. PeterObi. Is this still in? I'm trying to check.
He's there.
Hello?
He's there.
Is this still here?
Yes.
Okay. Well, is this just goodwill to felicitate with Nigerians and to also advise us on what can be done on those issues? So it's purely goodwill to speak to us. I don't know whether he wants to speak now or he wants to wait. I've been very indecisive about that. But if he wants to speak now, we can take him because we want him to listen. But then because he said he's a good listener and he learns. So I'm taking it from that perspective, but I'm also, he's been here for some time. So I don't know what the consensus is. It's either we take him now or he waits a bit, take note of the interventions and then wrap things up. What do you say, Madam Nkoyotoyo? Nkoyotoyo, what do we do with that? Given the fact that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar just said that is right before his medication.
I think we can always, the Okute Global can always give us more than one advice. Let us hear him, please.
Okay. Okay. On that note, control, can we have the leader of the people, His Excellency PeterObi, to address us?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay. Well, mine is first to start by most sincerely gratitude to all of you for the effort you have put over the years, fighting for a better Nigeria and the welfare of people. We can't thank you enough because most of you have sacrificed a lot for this nation, and I'm sure God will continue to bless all of you in different ways. Again, to urge you to continue your effort. At times when you're working and sacrificing a difficult, unappreciated situation like we are in Nigeria, you feel very pained that your sacrifice is in vain. But I assure you it's not in vain. It's added every day to this long journey of change. What you're doing is what is helping this change we're all fighting for. This new Nigeria we're all fighting for. It is your sacrifice and passport. As for the two things you're mentioning, I can say a lot about the election because, of course, I'm in the tribunal. The only thing I can say is that the major ingredients of democracy is, like my very dear sister in Korea has said, must be rooted on the foundation of rule of law. And like I've said publicly, if you must seek or want to answer His or Her Excellency, the process through which you reach that destination must be excellent. Because you've now become exemplary, a role model for people to emulate. And we cannot allow our children, our young ones, to be emulating criminality and things that are wrong. So for me, this is sacrosanct. The process is far more important than what you do thereafter. As for issue of subsidy, I've maintained throughout the campaign that subsidy is organized crime, and I've shown it using the example of Nigeria and Pakistan to show that the quantity of we consume is far more than what we're supposed to consume, because we have a country with similar population, even with more roads. I don't know whether they have more cars, consuming below 50% of what we consume. So showing it, I've looked at the cost, and like again, my dear sister said, let's be transparent, let's have the costing. I said I will remove it immediately, but let's have the statistical method in which you arrive at, one, the cost, what you're removing, and the benefits. Like I mentioned in my tweet, that there's a difference between if you have a toothache and it has to be removed. There's a difference between that you went to the dentist and he applies the local anesthesia and then having it removed by force. And when you want to do this, we want to see governance where every sector that requires urgent change is being done simultaneously. And for me, the number one thing we need to deal with in this country is cutting the cost of governance. It is huge, it is irresponsible, and must be dealt with immediately. When we cut cost of governance, that is number one. Then we now start cutting the cost, and every cost, everything we're going to do must be in such a way that there's an empirical, verifiable, statistical evidence. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going to do it. If it's going to involve the public, like issue of subsidy, where we know that the people that will be affected more are those at the lower stratum of the society, government must be pro-poor in all their decisions. They must look at what will affect them. Those who are less privileged, because all these things, for the privileged ones, it doesn't affect them. So we must look at it. So for me, government must, in everything they do, think about the less privileged, the poor in our society. The targets must be how to lift them out of poverty, to how do you get those things that work for them, education, primary health care, work immediately, and then be able to ensure there's rule of law and order. There must be security. All this is what government is supposed to focus on and deal with. Thank you, people. Mine today would have been just to listen to you, because what you are doing is wonderful, and I'm glad I'm part of it. I've been listening since the beginning, and I'm sure I'll listen to the end. So once again, thank you. Thank you. The job of the leader is to listen more and be able to ensure that he governs by ensuring that it's government that is demand-driven, not supply-driven. So I'm not going to tell you much, but to listen to you, I'm taking note. I thank all those that have spoken, It's wonderful. Thank you. God continue to bless all of you and your families.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the People's Leader, Mr. PeterObi. That was very thought-provoking. Has made this year's celebration a very huge success. Your intervention is clear, and this is being recorded because our rapporteur will be coming out with concise note of what this is all about this year. We like to appreciate your patience, your sacrifice, and tenacity with the people. As a matter of fact, if you even decide to leave the people, they will not leave you. You cannot even decide it because if people have appropriated you, I don't know. I know it's a difficult one for you because you are forced as Obi to be obedient. So we appreciate you, sir. It's a good intervention. While you were talking, Dr. Idika Kalu was trying to call in. I've asked him to try and join so that he can intervene. His bill to speak here. His Excellency PeterObi has told us that he's going to listen quietly. You know, he may have to come back at some point to intervene, but we appreciate this intervention. Now we will be taking Madam Nkoyo. Madam Nkoyo Toyo, are you there? Nkoyo Toyo, we're trying to.
Okay, I can unmute. Yes, I am here. Thank you.
Yes, we want to say something before we go
on. No, thank you. Just to thank His Excellency PeterObi for that intervention. And we are grateful that the voices that we are raising, although online, are being heard in many corners of the country, and that the importance of holding on to this space, he has made allusions to that, and that this is an important piece of work that we are doing, and one that the country needs to recognize. I am believing that he too, like the rest of us, will take this message to many other fora and educate them on the need for people to be conscious of the role that civil society plays. And you reminded me of the 2005 Commonwealth People's Forum, where I was the chair of that forum. When Obasanjo was president, one of the agreements we have is that people, government, and the private sector must always sit together to discuss and negotiate for the good of their country. I think what we've seen with the subsidy so far is that it's been a negotiation of government to government, and we haven't seen now private sector is working around very closely to government. They were the one who put us in the mess in the first place, but here we are. But very grateful to His Excellency for that comment, and thank you for appreciating what we are trying to do here. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The President of the Committee for Defense of Human Rights, immediate past President, though, and one of the movers of this movement is here and ready to intervene on behalf of the larger civil society. Malaki Igumadu will be talking to us on from both ends, the electoral crisis and the subsidy issue. Comrade Malaki Igumadu, a lawyer, please, can you unmute and intervene? President of the Committee for Defense of Human Rights in Nigeria. Malaki, Comrade Malaki, are you there? Malaki Igumadu. We also have,
they just unmuted me now.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Comrade. Go ahead. Go ahead, Comrade.
And struggle. Yeah. Hello.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
I've been struggling to unmute myself.
Oh, sorry.
I believe that was from the host because, well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Are you still there?
I simply want.
Can you go ahead? What's wrong? Control room.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So I simply want to say thank you to everyone. The interventions have been worth the while. Throughout yesterday, we had our own June 12th celebration at the Committee for Defense of Human Rights, where I had the privilege to also speak to our people. Recall that at our last meeting, I did propose that June 12th cannot be erased in the annals of our experience as a country, no less now that it has been domesticated as the Democracy Day. So I made my remarks at that forum, but the only thing to add here and now is that we probably would need to crystallize our thoughts in a more result-oriented manner and focus on how to energize the constituencies, the traditional constituencies, and the emerging ones too, because the experiences of 2020 and so on and so forth has shown that Nigeria is also witnessing serious fundamental transformations and throwing up fresh leadership and fresh consciousness along core issues of concern to different demographics. So I would think that the best we can achieve at this level, considering that this is an assemblage of the old horses, is to find a way of striking a balance between what we are very proficiently used to in terms of the mode of our operations, which has not been entirely bad, but to blend it with the new demography we have seen in the struggle and see how we can balance it and reinforce each other with a view to giving the ruling class some run for their money. I say this because a day such as this, June 12th, should not be lost on our people. 30 years ago is not 30 months ago, neither is it 30 days ago. There are so many, in short, the greater percentage of the population of our society mainly read about June 12th in history books and the pages of newspapers. Not many of them, I'm talking of these youths, can relate practically with what it was. While you talking, I know you are, among so many other things, I know where it fell on you to be producing coffee on the streets of Lagos. What I seek to emphasize by that is that whereas the weapons of engagement, the tools of engagement now may differ, it is important that the people, the youths of today, should learn and integrate what it is that made the struggle stick in the past into what they may be willing to do with their own time and with their own history. Now, while thanking everyone, I had thought that we'll be able to, activate our our centers in a way that demonstrates to the ruling class that the principles of June 12th must continually be thrown out there and done sufficiently well to be able to convince the occupants of power now that we have not forgotten what the battles were and how we got to where we are, indicating that we're also not ready to toy with those successes that were recorded. Of course, what is the general idea or principle behind the June 12th? It is the supremacy of the will of the people. 30 years after, we are still on the same issue, which is why people are in tribunals and in law courts to reclaim their mandates one way or the other. So to what extent have we made progress in 30 years? And to what extent can we continue in this trajectory? Can we take another 30 years? And if we must, what will happen to this country as a political entity? Now, in rounding off my thought, I want to appeal that our coalition and collaboration with Labour may need to be reviewed. I have heard one of the previous speakers, the madam that spoke much earlier, talk about her joy over the suspension of the strike. Well, that is one side of the story. The other one that resonates with the masses of the country is that it appears to them, and this is coming from numerous of such incidences, that there isn't in the country a very viable, potent labor centers that can take a position and breathe it down the government in a way that at least show them that we can't take all their policies, however obnoxious. And what it does is that each time the Nigerian people are mobilized and demobilized, it becomes twice as difficult to attempt to even beckon at them. And that explains to a large extent why the Labour Civil Society Coalition was contrived in the first place. To say that we have seen in the trajectory of our struggle very difficult instances in which it would be difficult for labor as an organized labor and trade centers, with TUC inclusive, to carry on, particularly when they are ambushed, either by way of court orders or government tactics. And that at that point, they can easily diffuse into the civil society. And we have, in many years in the past, we have carried on. We have carried on. The first thing is to be able to carry the Nigerian people in one first week. When they encounter that, we take it on.
Okay.
So that's my point, that we need to also find a way of reinventing those strategies. Labor can dissolve into the civil society with the purpose of carrying on their struggle through the people. They are first Nigerians before they became labor activists. And the rights that they have, including their constitutional right to freely express themselves, even through protest, cannot be taken away from them as citizens, if they understand the game very well. Let me leave it at this point. I'm actually also very keen in listening. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Comrade Malaki Igumaju, President, immediate past President, Committee for the Defense of Human Rights. I believe the part of the campaign for democracy that fought for the restoration of democracy. It was the CDHR that was the precursor to the formation of the campaign for democracy, which we used to really galvanized the struggle against military rule. He was immediate past president. Thank you for that intervention. Before we bring on the bigwigs, let's quickly take another intervention from United Action Front. I have Segun Showunmi for 5 minutes to intervene on the two issues. Comrade Segun Showunmi speaks for the Atiku Abubakar side of the divide. Are you there, Comrade Segun Showunmi? Are you ready to intervene?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yes,
good evening,
please.
and thank you very much for this intervention. What I would want to say quickly is that if we're not very, very careful, we're going to find ourselves in a long-drawn civilian dictatorship from the look of things. And it comes on the tail of what the last speaker just said. It doesn't matter any explanation labor operatives and labor movements give. It was quite frustrating and a bit of uncharitable that they backed down too quickly. Why? Everybody gets the subsidy removal argument. But what I don't get is that you are going to come and tell us that over a period of many years, some private sector players, your friends, have milked and robbed us and walked us into a debt, and you are going to pass the burden of that, their irresponsibility, to the citizen without showing us, one, a commensurate set of activities that will be palliative before you removed it, or even more importantly, before showing us that you have the determination to ensure that those who have robbed the country blind suffer some consequences by way of trials and what have you. That's not how to run a nation. And if labor finds it so easy to be, made to back down before they even start, it can only give you an idea of what we have coming up before us. The second intervention I want to make is also that we must understand that democracy as we now know it in our country, and all of the things that may eventually get thrown up as a result of the cases in court, has told us in clear language that those who are taking over the realms of our affairs via democratic manipulations are very skilled at ensuring that their manipulations can also get the coloration of tribal and ethnic and religious, either validation or what have you. It means that we must go back to our trenches. We must plan well. We must be very realistic. We must know that it will take a coalition to throw them out when another round of opportunity comes. That is, if they don't get thrown out before by the tribunal. And then we must ensure that we're not just opposing for opposing's sake. We must constantly tell them precisely what we think needs to be happening. If we don't have comprehensive judicial reform, how can democracy work here? All they need to do is steal, and then we're shoved the argument, go to court, and nothing will happen. If they don't have police reform, here, the type of police reform that makes you understand that the police does not respect even the people that are paying their salaries. That means even if a high-ranking person in society does something wrong, the police on their own have the gravitas and the will to be able to do right by all. We have not started. If you do not find out, if we do not insist that the media cannot be cowed, it is still a matter of great embarrassment that the Nigerian society did not punish the present winners by disdaining media, by refusing to go for interview, and by even making themselves almost, as it were, bigger than everybody. And it therefore means that civil society, our work is not done in advocating and getting the mass of our people, especially the lower run of the ladder, to understand that the promise of democracy is the only thing that separates them from being taken for a ride forever. And it's okay if they take you for a ride, you may have the patience. What about if by they're taking you for a ride, they are passing the baton of leadership to their children, which invariably means they're checking your children and your next set of children for a ride. It's not going to work. And I think that the earlier we understand that over and above the talk shop, we must figure out a standing committee that really works on strategy and goes to every length available to ensure that we're going to say, no, this type of thing will never happen again. Otherwise, We'll endure to 2027. Some of us will put ourselves up again, and some criminal elements in our society will do brigandage and what have you, and we'll be here again after I was speaking the same type of English that can become sometimes frustrating. And finally, I want to commend His Excellency PeterObi. Without a doubt, you are truly the alter ego of what the people want in leadership now. You have done more than one would have expected of you. And I know that you have the tenacity and the ability to stay on this lane for as long as is required. All I will add is we must go back to the strategy board and go and review it so that the numbers don't start decreasing, but we can then make sure that it can increase, because if it must be, it is really up to us. Thank you very much. That's what I really thought I wanted. And happy Democracy Day and happy June 12. It's so sad that June 12 now looks like this 30 years after. If we knew this was what they were going to do with the civilian democracy, we might have left it in the hands of military dictators, because at least they are a little bit more reasonable when it comes to the usage of power. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief Sheikh show me all the way from Abeokuta, Ogun State, where you have General Obasanjo and co. Thank you. Thank you. That was a very profound intervention, telling us how to go to resist dictatorship. Thank you very much. We really appreciate this. Well, you have made the point about Mr. PeterObi. We have no choice. It's been appropriated by the people. I don't know. I don't really envy him. There is nothing he can do now. He has to live like Mandela, who says, I don't have a private. He has to really live now like Mandela, who said, I don't have any private life. So, but it's measuring up to that, and we must commend him. Yes, we must really fight. We must really fight, and we must fight constructively. I know some of our leaders don't want to end up like Abiola. They are very careful. The people want the fire, but they are very careful. They are very careful. And so we appreciate that wisdom, because the Nigerian ruling class can be very, very deft and very problematic. So I think that we must also give them a lot of support. We still have a couple of people wanting to come in. I don't know why they can't come in. Dr. Idika Kalu has been trying to come in. OLISA AGBAKOBA, SCN has been trying to come in. So I don't know what challenge we have in trying to bring them in. Shehu Sani also is trying to come in. Control room, please check. Some of them said they have been in the waiting room. And so we need to bring them in so that they can really intervene and give us some perspective on the way forward for our electoral politics and on our consultative governance dealing with subsidy, fuel, etc. So, well, let me quickly call on one of the young people here who wants to intervene for just 3 minutes. Lucky Obia, who wants to intervene for 3 minutes. Lucky Obia, please, can you unmute him? We need to hear him, especially on the subsidy question, while we wait for our main panelists to come in. Lucky Obia, honorable. I think there is honorable before his name. Obia. Control room, please.
Okay.
Yes, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Faintly.
Yeah, a very good afternoon.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to everyone. More especially, let me begin by extending my greetings to His Excellency PeterObi, all the wonderful speakers who have spoken so far, Mike Ozekomeh, and the rest of them. And thank you for the organizers. I also want to appreciate this opportunity to also give tributes in regards to the June 12th presidential election that is regarded in the history of this country as the fairest and freest presidential election in the annals of our country's history that we have ever witnessed. The truth of the matter is not far-fetched that the current generation is being oppressed by political elite. Over the years, the Nigerian state has witnessed different systems of government, from dictatorship, military junta, to parliamentary system, to democratic system of government, and what have you. Let me pay tribute to one of Africa's best, one of Nigeria's best, the hero of our democracy, Chief MKO ABIOLA of blessed memory. The fight you fought as at that time remains a reference point in the history of this country. As we progress into the rebirth of a new nation, a new Nigeria is possible. For those of us within the civil society organization that have been on the streets of Abuja in solidarity with Nigeria to register and lend our voice as it affects the last election that took place on the 25th of February 2023. For those of us who have followed the trajectory of our activism, of our protest, we're doing that not just because we want our voices to be heard, but because we want to be a part and parcel of a new Nigeria. We've been at the vanguard of this struggle as it affects my generation. I just clocked 40 on June 1st. We wouldn't want to allow those political plutocrats who have run this country aground over the years, having stolen the generation before us, almost taking half of our generation. What are we going to bequeath to posterity? Should we allow them continue to manipulate and remain a clog in the wheel of progress of this country? This generation is taking this country back. I have been opportune to serve in various capacities in this country. I worked with the Federal Road Safety Corps for 14 years before I resigned in 2018 to run for Federal House of Representatives election. And from those, the manner at which I saw electoral brigandage, electoral robbery in 2019 being a victim of, informed my choice to say enough is enough. We must take our country back from this individual. The electoral malfeasance, robbery that took place in 2019, 2023, this will be the last time elections will be rigged in this country at every strata of government, from the House of Assembly to the President. These are some of the things we have to remember the lives of Chief MKO ABIOLA in order to keep his legacy on. We must, as a nation, come together, irrespective of religious and ethnic divide. Come together and build this country. as we celebrate and commemorate the June 12th Marathon today, I want to urge all like minds. In the coming days, it might be challenging. The NU, the TUC and the NLC and other various labor union orders shouldn't allow those unions, you shouldn't allow yourself to be oppressed. You are the representative of the Nigerian masses. For a federal government to obtain frivolous injunction to suppress the constitutional rights of Nigeria in protesting anti-government policy is indeed an aberration in every democratic state. It is on this point, as I wind down my submission, we shall continue. Okay.
Yeah. Right, Randall.
The project of a new Nigeria. The battle to salvage Nigeria is the battle of no retreat, no surrender. The country is sitting on a keg of gunpowder, economically, politically, and otherwise. But we shall continue to create that network, that synergy between all frontiers of labor unions and the civil society organizations to see how we can press in our demand for a better Nigeria. Nigeria can be great again. Most of the individuals and personalities on this space today, these are men and women who have prayed and contributed their quota to national development. Men of esoteric wisdom. Chief WOLE is a man I know whose report card in the service of humanity has indeed protected and abiding for today and tomorrow's generation to embrace. Likewise, all the activists and very exemplary leaders here. I want to appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this epoch-making ceremony as we commemorate the June 12th, 30th anniversary of the life and times of Chief MKO Abiola. May his soul continue to rest in the perfect peace of the Almighty, and may his legacy continue to resonate across the length and breadth of the Nigerian state. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade Lucky Obiyan, for your submission. We are winding down now. I'll have to call on Lady Nkoyotoyo, but then before I do that, it is clear that there is a consensus that we need to do more in terms of how we galvanize the people, either physically or online. We have to do more. Sorry, I want to take Dr. Idika Kalu, who is on the phone with me now. I've been trying to get him in. Hello, doctor. Yeah, you are expected in now to speak. Hello? Yes. Please join, sir. So they are waiting for you to address us. You have the link with you already. Hello? You have the link, sir. On your WhatsApp. Oh, you want to speak directly this way? I don't know if it can be captured, but you have the link already. We are ready. You have the link on your WhatsApp. Your WhatsApp, yes. You click it and then join. It's already there. We are all waiting, sir. All right. All right. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting for our elder and leader to join us. That's Dr. Kalu Idika, Kalu KIK. He'll be joining us soon. Control room, please watch out for him. But we need to do more. That's what is imagined. We as civil society, as citizens, we don't have to be docile and we don't have to rely too much on labor. Even the labor president, Comrade Ajaero, said that much. That
Chair,
people have to come up.
There's a hand up. Can we take that while we wait for Dr. Idika Kalu?
Can we take what?
There's a hand up. Can we take Lanre Adenuga, please?
Okay, 2 minutes. Lanre Adenuga. 2 minutes. Can we have you?
Thank you, sir. My name is Lanre Adenuga. I'm a Deputy Chairman, Lagos State Labour Party. I want to sincerely appreciate the organizers of this program, and I want to appreciate His Excellency and all those who have spoken before now. Quickly, for me, what I want to contribute to this discussion is this. For a long time, we've had people in authority, people who are privileged to be in a position to, take decisions, actually taking the laws into their hands and enjoying impunity. That means they feel they can do something and get away with it. What we are saying today, 30 years, what we are celebrating today is a decision, a wrong decision taken by a few set of people under the leadership of General Ibrahim Babangida, annulling an election, the result of an election that the whole world believed was the fairest, was the best. And the question I'm asking is, what has been done to Ibrahim Babangida and his cohorts and his people who annulled the mandate of the people? Now, there was another election that brought in President Yar'Adua. Okay, after Obasanjo, that election was rigged. Okay, even President Yar'Adua, when he came to power, he acknowledged that that election was rigged. There was a panel that was set up to investigate. There were recommendations. Nothing was done to the culprits, to the people who, conspired, those who rigged the election. Nothing was done to them. So impunity is one of our major problems in this country. So I think it is time, if people in power, because, people in the National Assembly, people who are in the executive, because they enjoy this power, because they are the ones that most often, take decisions that run contrary to the wish or to the mandate of the people, they cannot punish themselves. What I'm saying is that the civil society, because we say that power belongs to the people, the civil society, we must begin to galvanize efforts of the masses to really deal with these people and tell them that they cannot do anything. Take our mandate and go scot-free. We must begin to name and shame people. We must begin to document, events to show the whole world, to show people, to show our new generations that these are things that people do and they are wrong and we will not accept them. Like this election that happened, I feel bad. I feel, very terribly bad that some people will say that the February 25 election was fair and fair when there was violence, especially in Lagos. The way people were harassed, the way people were intimidated, the way people were maltreated, people were beaten, some people ended up in hospital, some people died. And then some people are saying that there was no election. Civil society must not rely on the media, on the established media, okay, to document these events and show that these are the people, and let's decide. This is what we can, people can decide to name them, to blackmail them, and to, boycott them. So civil society, we must begin to name and shame and deal with these people who take the laws into their hands. This is my submission. Thank you so much.
You will not come here.
Well, thank you very much. Che, have we got Dr. Idika Kalu in here? Che? Che? Cannot see.
Hello, Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu is on the line with me. Hello,
Okay.
sir, you are in. Can we have Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu now? Is in on another phone, another device.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes, can you come in? Can you speak now? Which phone? Let me check the device. It's not of this generation. Yes, I know Larry has spoken. Yes, on that line. But which? No, Larry is gone now. We want to hear you, sir. It's your turn to speak. Can you speak? Can you use that device to address us? You are in already, but I don't know the name. Is it your phone? Okay, I can't find. Yes, yes, it's just spoken now. Speak to the line, speak to the line. Speak, address us. Okay, we want to have Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu speak to us. Control, please, can you check his device? He just came in on another line.
We need to know the telephone number that he came in with. We can't see Kalu Idika Kalu here, but we need to know the device so we can allow him to speak.
But he's in already.
Please unmute everybody. Let's unmute all and let him speak. Yes, we can't hear him speak, and then we can mute the others.
Just unmute all first. Doctor, are you here? No, there won't be no muted. Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu. Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu. Hello. Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu, can you speak, please? Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu.
I think we can go on, Che. We're not getting him.
What?
Victor Atiku is what? No, he's not. Okay, Mr. Stephen Osenwigwe, do you want to give us 2 minutes, please?
Hello, am I being heard? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. A pleasure to be here. For those that don't know, my name is Stephen Osemige. I live in New York, PeterObi, USA. They call me on Twitter. I bring greetings from our people online, the Twitter family, the Obedience. And on a special day like this, I personally feel that June 12th it's more like a reflection day. We should reflect on what happened 30 years ago. I remember I was a very young man. Apologies for the young man out there. I remember I was a very young boy growing up in Nigeria and watching the protests, the struggle. I didn't really understand it very well. But being part of the obedient movement and watching what has happened in February 25th, where I was online on my Twitter space for 5 weeks nonstop, 24 hours, talking about real-time experiences in Lagos, in Kaduna, in Imo, in River State, how people went through hell to cast their ballots. And as a convener of a support group, Save Nigerian Group USA, I have our members across observing and watching travesty going on. And the living through this and the post-election periods, we had people on the ground supported online and all that to air their voices. And you see the fear for Nigerians not wanting to come out because, oh, they'll kill or remember EndSARS. And I said, and I keep saying online, that in a society where people cannot peacefully express themselves, that is not a democracy. Today we are celebrating the great man, MKO. I hope we can learn lessons from it, because there's a quote that says, those who fail to learn from history will repeat it. Our prayer is that the judiciary will help us. Again, I don't want to talk about the case in court, but we young people, we are saying that the judiciary and the civil society, the labor union, TUC, NLC, and all of us here, we have a responsibility to make sure that our voices are heard, that democracy survives in Nigeria. I am part of the diaspora, but I'm also on the ground. But I do know that there's a lot of anticipation that the will of these people will prevail this time. That those who say we will labor in vain will be wrong. That truth and justice and equity will prevail. I want to employ everybody to stay on this track, continue to look at the judiciary and employ them however we can in every legal way to do justice, because the young people that I'm part of really have gotten to a point where we believe that this is it for us. So I want to thank Veteran Che for what you do and everyone that have organized this. I want to thank our principal for keeping faith. Sir, if you're still listening, thank you for showing up in court. We are always there watching, and we hope and pray that justice will prevail, because the evidence is overwhelming. Those who have died will not forgive us if we do not hold account those who have stolen their mandate. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. My name is Stephen Osemige, PeterObi USA on Twitter. Thank you so much.
I know. Thank you very much, Stephen, all the way from USA. Dr. Idika Kalu is still here with me. I don't know if I ask him to speak through my other line, whether we'll hear him. Okay, Doc, can you address us on this WhatsApp line, see whether they will hear you? Hello? Go speak. Yes. Yeah, I can hear you, but can we hear him?
Let him speak.
Can you put?
Can you hear him?
Yeah, very little.
Veteran, can you put him on speaker? Then place it close to your phone. We will
yes,
hear.
I've done that. It's on speaker now. Yes, please go on, Doc.
Place it close to your phone.
Hello, they are listening.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yes, we can hear him.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me thank everybody for holding fast, despite all the distractions, intended and unintended intimidations. We are still back to the fundamental issues. Will Nigeria ever be really free? Will Nigerians ever be free as free citizens to exercise all their human and constitutional rights, to live in every part of this country as free citizens, lawful citizens of Nigeria? These are still these fundamental questions. Are we able to exercise our rights fully? The rights to life, liberty, and prosperity. Should we create a framework ever where all our energies, all our God-given energies can be unleashed in the service of our citizens, wherever they may live, within their own ethnic nationalities and beyond to the other 450 odd ethnic nationalities in this nation? These are still the fundamental questions that have been thrown up by recent events. We must never give up. I spoke frequently and stayed closely with MKO Abiola of blessed memory. He believed in these principles, along with other Nigerians. We must never depart from that path. Nobody should distract us with foreign ideologies, foreign religions, or foreign customs. Nigerians have a richness of language, religion, and culture of their own. All that is left for us is to act as common citizens with a common heritage. One will not want to put all this down to economic determinism, but I think it is clear that the fact that we are not able to define, sustain, and implement the right economic policies that will free the vast resources of this nation, from the delta to the semi-desert, from the woods to the Sahara land. We have multiples and multiples of resources we should unleash, because it is by doing this we are able to empower our citizens so they can stand by their rights. When people are fed, when people are housed, when people are educated, when they are healthy, when they can move around freely, it is only under these conditions that they can really regard themselves as free citizens. We must never be deluded into believing that exporting crude oil and even the last years, exporting and importing other people's goods, even from China and India, on whose backs we should have ridden to greater heights in agriculture and manufacturing. So I believe that we should always observe this day, always, to the extent that we are still very deficient in all the hopes and aspirations that were unleashed by this unifying factor, the June 12th movement. So I welcome you all to another observation of this epoch, this very important unifying movement. We must continue to press for free and fair elections. We must continue to press for proper husbanding of our resources. The days of misuse, the days of brigandage, the incidence of waste is gone beyond what any nation can really just absorb. We are hemorrhaging from every pore. Let this event today remind us all that we still have a sacred responsibility to reach greater heights. We are hardly where we ought to be. It's projected that by some people that by 2050 or 27 years from now, Nigeria could well be number 3 in population behind India and China. The economy could be perhaps the 9th or better, or around the 9th largest in the world. But clearly, this seeming illusion now can be more than a reality, but we must face squarely the task of mobilizing to fight ignorance, to fight disease, to fight sectionalism, to fight discrimination of all sorts, all the vices that stop Nigerians from the far north to the far south from being able to achieve the result of their labor, to reap the fruits of their labor and achieve the heights that are conferred on them by divine creation. As I said, we should not continue to wallow in a flurry, ephemeral, vanishing, unreal issues in our society. We are yet to really grasp any single subsector as if we are under our belt. Our agriculture is still primarily primitive, and it is now being disturbed by all kinds of internal strife. We have not gone anywhere close to developing the basic agriculture to the extent in terms of productivity of our soil or productivity per man working in agriculture, not to talk of refining and packaging and all kinds of other value added in that particular sector, which is a major thing that should put Nigeria on the map. Then you move on to the manufacturing. We haven't achieved very much. We should be close to producing 30-35% of our GDP from the manufacturing sector, excluding even the agricultural sector. And as if that was enough, we can also already see the glimpses in the services sector, in the film industry, in all kinds of other utilities and service areas beyond this basic agriculture and manufacturing. But we cannot do this until we develop our infrastructure. We cannot develop our infrastructure if we continue to allow the waste, rather than building and leveraging on our resources to make sure we have the best roads, the best bridges, the best hospitals, the best schools, like we're supposed to have, to sustain and expand reliable communications, and above all, to have uninterrupted power supply from the very resources of energy that we are endowed with. So when you range over all these areas, we should stop being like feeling that we already have it all. We don't. In fact, we have not really started in relation to the potential that this country has. We've been talking this potential for 60 odd years. It is time enough for us to press on, to use these resources to achieve the kind of wealth and position that is conferred on Nigeria by our resources. So we can be a beacon of hope to our neighbors in the sub-region, to our neighbors in the continent, and also as a beacon to our people who are forced to leave our shores hundreds of years ago in America, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and so on and so forth. They are waiting for Nigeria, along with other nations in Africa. So we should really focus on the meaning of June 12th as something just beyond the elections. It is the only way we can show that we are as human as everybody else. We cannot be stampeded by impunity and lawlessness and organized brigandage of our resources. So once again, I thank you all, and we must press on until we feel we are getting close to that edge where Abiola in his grave will say, yes, my people, you have carried on. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu, Idika Kalu. Before you go, what's your position or your intervention on the fuel subsidy crisis raging?
Well, a lot of these things several years ago. Subsidy, we have not quite understood the point of this issue. The issue is not that subsidy is inherently bad. In fact, subsidy, as used by many countries all over the world, you have to interpret it in terms of the way to help the production function until it matures. So it's something that can be selective both in number and in time. So there's nothing wrong as such with subsidies. You use it to help farmers, you use it to help artisans, you use it to help manufacturers. They can come in terms of tax holidays and things of this sort. You use it as an intervention with as a safety net to recognize the fact that a lot of people are not able to help themselves for reasons beyond their power to control. In the Nigerian case, the subsidy situation has been
Hello? You are muted. You are muted. Hello, sir. I may have to call him. He's muted.
Can we take some others while we wait for him to return?
Let me call him. Let him just round up. He suddenly muted his. Let him just round up. Hello, sir. Sir, no. You were muted. You said in the case of Nigeria. You said hello, sir.
Subsidy in the case of Nigeria.
Hello, sir.
Understanding. When you have leakages from many pores, you have to clean those pores. You have to close those pores, those leakages. That is the only effective way of removing subsidy. In the meantime, by closing these pores means you are delivering services, goods, services, safety nets, and so on and so forth, so that the sharp impact of a removal will not be felt. And of course, every case like this is always the more vulnerable that feels it the most. No subsidy removal should involve an instant tripling or quadrupling of general price level of the prices of normal goods, food, shelter, fuel, and so on and so forth. When you leave it to grow by this much, as we did, it needs to be phased out with a clear demonstration of all the corporate policies that you have to put in place. So make sure that, yes, as you withdraw the subsidies, the economy is responding, everybody is getting better in terms of their earning capacity and so on and so forth. So the only problem I had with an instant removal is that instant removal that does not recognize the fact that a sharp removal means quadrupling and quintupling of oil prices, and that is not desirable under any situation. Other than that, quite apart, as I said, from using subsidy in a positive sense to encourage investment and production and saving and so on and so forth, when you need to remove it, you have to do it over a short phase, which, whether it's 6 months or 1 year, needs an empirical study that will inform you as to the best way to remove the subsidy without, as it were, upsetting the whole apple cart. So that is the question with subsidy.
Thank you, sir.
I see the government is scrambling now to make sure that they put in place things that will reduce the impact. But it is very difficult when the price is so high in terms of an instant reaction from the removal of subsidy. And of course, in removing subsidy, we should focus on instant stopping and punishing those who have brought in so much fraud into it. So there's the exchange rate effect, there is the fraud effect, and of course, the need to create the capacity. A few years ago, we thought the best thing we could have done was to build more refineries, to privatize the ones we had, and to make sure we refine time so that we brought back what we needed and sold the rest out there. That was the recommendation. But, you know, as government works, it wasn't possible for them to adopt it for whatever reason. So this is a very critical thing. And why it is so sad, it is coming on top of what everybody accepts as botched elections to a very large extent. And that is even coming on the heels of a most needless cashless policy that was put in place, which is still reverberating from our rural areas to cities and so on and so forth. These are three great whammies at equal. Very few societies can really survive this. But recognition is important. Once we recognize the impact of these three very grievous policies on our economy, that is a thing that will enable the leadership to see through how it can solve the problems. We are in deep problem right now, and we didn't need another one to come on top of it. So we should stop it. So this celebration of Emperor ABIOLA, the 4th June 12, so bring us all honestly as Nigerians, regardless of our party affiliation, regardless of our ethnic, not to mention the totally irrelevant intrusion of religion. We should honestly come to grips. At least let's identify the problems. Let's honestly identify the problem. Let's stop sweeping anything under the carpet. let's realize that we are not talking just for this generation. We're talking for future generations. We cannot bequeath to them a system that is as broken as what we are in now. So I wish us all luck in identifying our problems, in determining to face up to the problem. The problems we have are not the problems of Igbo, Hausa, Fulani, Efik, Ibibio, Ijo, and so on and so on. They are the problems of Nigerians. We are all Nigerians, and we should face these problems and stop adding on things that don't really come to grips with addressing our common problems all over this nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu, Idika Kalu, for that very profound intervention. So it's clear to us that things are not right economically, because you are a veteran. You are an experienced economist, one of the best in Africa, if not the world. We appreciate your intervention, and this will instruct us on what to do going forward. It means that Nigerian citizens will tighten their belts and really resist this, because you have laid the foundation there that this sharp removal of subsidy is not going to help the economy and the people of Nigeria. It's going to further dislocate, and that is what we are hearing. So are you speaking to them already? Because you have the opportunity to speak as a vet. Are you really talking to government? Are you?
Well, I wouldn't say I have no access, but you see, you can have access. The only relevance of access is where you now see some of the things you are saying, or one has been saying for years, being somehow slowly, put into policy pronouncements. I've listened to a few statements now that are giving me hope that at least we are moving forward. But we cannot afford to rest on our oars. We must see the length of the problem. As I said, there's not one single subsector we can say we've absorbed under our belt. We have to really reorganize the constitutional structure, the production structure, our foreign relations, our social mobilization in every sense of the word. And I have always advised that perhaps what we need to do is break down the local governments into less units that can handle so many projects. Remove this so-called indigenous problem, which is a danger to Nigerians. Back in the early colonial days, Nigerians were all over the place. They could do their business all over the place. How can we now lessen that absence of such stratification when we have the right to decide what to do? If the colonial power didn't do that, why should we break people into compartments from which they are stratified? But the answer to that is that leadership must follow up with correct principles that will create the breadth and wealth of opportunities. When Nigerians see the horizon opening up before them, they will be focused on their chances to advance themselves, not on what the neighbor speaks or where the neighbor worships or whatever it is. Thank goodness we don't add a color of skin, although some people might construe that as a factor. But a lot of things we say flow from the structure, but we must not base a structure that is also now aligned on ethnic lines. Let's talk about development units, viable development units that can handle all kinds of development projects, except for the very largest ones, which because of the benefits of the economies of scale will be better left to the zonal level or to the national level. So perhaps that is the sense we can talk about restructure. Let's restructure to development units so people can produce, they can save and invest and produce. Labor can be hired to undertake just about every major project except the very largest. We should build mass transit structures to unite our people. This was the idea of the mass transit program several years ago, but we never quite got there. Railways should go to every city. Power supply should be available. By now, Nigeria should be one of those that have uninterruptible supply because of the wealth that is yet to be tapped, because of the intensity, the quality of the natural resources to harness enough power so that people have light. A few years ago, it got so bad, people couldn't even study in boarding houses because they didn't even have light. This was brought to my attention. And these issues need to be seen on a much larger scale, not just in the scale of a state or a zone. It's a national thing, and this thing should be given initially to those who know best how to produce them. These days in Nigeria, over the years, we're used to these things that people wanting to acquire property. They want to own power station. They want to own communications. They want to own this and that. But the issue is to provide for the masses what is available on a reliable basis. So to me, this is what the restructuring is all about, not just fine grammar in a rewritten constitution, but that constitution should now remove this whole notion of indigents, people being stratified into where they were born or not able to carry on their legitimate businesses wherever they live. These are the restructuring. We must find a way to change. So I order Nigerians under the aegis of this June 12 movement. Let's go back. This concerns everybody. This concerns everybody. This is what we've agreed to do. We've agreed to stay together. And the whole world, despite all the smudges and all the problems we have, they still look to Nigeria. I am in touch with a lot of my friends in West Africa and beyond. They still look to Nigeria with all our blemishes. That should spur us to action. We must get serious and not try to sweep things under the carpet. I had the word impunity mentioned. This is one of the things that distract us. The law must be applied to every citizen. The law has to be observed by the high and mighty. The resources have to be spread. Not some people waking up one morning and ordering all kinds of packages for very few who happen to serve under all kinds of guises in government. We must think about people having water, having light, having security. We must think of people having access, safe access from one village to another village, from one town to another town, from one zone to another zone. This is the essence of freedom, and that is what our forefathers fought for. So we cannot go against those things and think we are moving forward. We are not. We are not.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. K.I.K. Idika Kalu. I see that the NSC president has sent in a representative. I don't know if he's in. Comrade Adeyoji, as he called you, the NSC, that's Ajaero, is in Geneva now, and said to me that Comrade Adeyoji, but he's been trying to Dr. Idika Kalu was speaking. I don't.
Chair, we have to move because we have many hands up, and we are coming to the end of this, so we have to allow people to speak while we establish whether the representative of the president of the NLC is here. Let me quickly call the people who have raised their hands so that we can take them on and try and close a little bit after 4 p.m. Mr. Chris Opala, please. Can we allow him to speak for just 1 minute? Chris Opala.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I am Chris Opala, the president of Market Leaders and Traders Association of Nigeria.
Thank you.
I'm actually.
Please go ahead.
I'm actually so happy hearing from the master economist. But the only worry that I just had is that this is an opinion that is coming from an individual. Like you said, you may have an opportunity to have access to those in power, and it remains to see whether your ideas will be bought And that brings me to the issues I want to raise. And the only force that can make government to listen to and the beautiful ideas like the ones he has just enumerated is a collective force, the type that we are now trying to extract here through the June 12th commemoration, which is also represented like with groups like Labour and Civil Society Front. But my fear is this: I know that Africa have a problem with tribal issues and all that. My fear is this: since the issue of the June 12th came to the fore, so many things have happened, and as so many people have said, look at June 12th, look at what we are seeing on the streets. It is as if nothing is happening. So I begin to wonder, could it be that the ex-president Buhari settled June 12th champions with just naming this day Democracy Day? Because what is happening now, I'm not happy with. Hello?
Yes, please round up. We have to listen to others.
I want to round up. What I'm trying to say is that these civil society organizations are not doing what they are supposed to do. Because if we are doing what we are supposed to do, I mean, Buhari will not have all the misgovernance he had and go away with it. And now we are having it with the person who have just stolen Nigerians' mandate, coming into the fray with removing the subsidy because he wants to prove that he has power, and then signing a bill that has already been signed just to show that he's working. Civil society, who such people took account. And like Idika Kalu said, please, if the civil society, let us organize ourselves and make sure that we hold government accountable. And let's start with what the Lagos State Speaker have just floated. We will not allow that legislation to fly. Every Nigerian has right to live everywhere. Everybody nobody is more Nigerian than the other.
Thank you.
And no person in Lagos is more Lagosian than the other. So that's what
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we now invite the next speaker, Dr. Moses, for 1 minute, please?
Okay, thank you very much. I am very, very pleased to be featured in this conversation.
Please, your views,
our
please.
principal.
Can you go to the
I want
point,
to first make 3 observations. Yes, the first point is that what we are practicing is representative democracy in Nigeria, and because we have failed in upholding to the ideas of it, which is fair representation, individual liberty, universal suffrage, popular sovereignty, social justice, and equality, then we have failed, and there should be no need. We will celebrate Democracy Day, rather reflect just as we are doing here, because what in Nigeria today is a democratic system, an undemocratic system that champions forceful curtailment of fundamental rights of citizens. It's a system that exhibits greed, selfishness, and a winner takes all syndrome. It's a system that champions tyranny of the majority over the minority type of politics, and a system that encourages breach of electoral laws. And so within today has cost our system. Yes.
We were not hearing you, please. Can you round up? We're not hearing us. Round up.
Okay. The NSC president just asked somebody to speak with us.
Who is that?
That's Comrade Adeyoju, but he's not in yet. He called me on phone.
There
we
are
have
three other speakers.
Anita
Can we
and Nana
listen
for
to
1
them?
minute. Can we have Madam?
I said there are
Madam,
three other hands up. Can we pick up those ones while we wait for him to join us?
Yes, let's take Nana. Let's take the woman.
For 1 minute, please. Can you
Anita,
unmute?
Nana?
Yes, I'm unmuted now. Thank you so much. I'll just go straight to the point. As Nigeria approaches this 30th anniversary of the Democratic Day, I just believe that though most of the political leaders and those of us here on this forum for this democratic issue, we have tried our best, but I will say our best is not good enough to really give the essence of what Nigeria should really be to enjoy the democratic dividend of our nation. So I want to look more on the productivity aspect. If all of us can put our hands together and look at the multidimensional poverty. The multidimensional poverty in this country is just too much. So we need to look at our economic growth, which has not been inclusive at all. Women are suffering. I am Chief Mrs. Anita Nana Okuribido, and I'm a great voice for women. I am the president of Women in Renewable Energy Association, and what we do is to establish, democratic and community development associations, and make sure we provide solutions to all the community social problems by using green devices, which is the lowest hanging fruit. And that's why we came up with the Light Up Nigeria initiative. Because women are suffering, we need to remove the, what do you call it now? The drudgery in the lives of women. Women are in agriculture, they don't have land. Women are in agriculture, they don't have implements. They can't even process the products that they produce. Please, I am begging us, let us do something so that we can remove the drudgery from the lives of the women, because when you teach a woman how to fish, you are teaching the whole nation. You are making productivity for the whole nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I hear that Iliazu would like to speak for 2 minutes. Elder Iliazu, for 2 minutes. Control.
Hello.
Can we have?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be among you to say one or two things. As an old man, I've seen what is democracy in other countries. I've seen Nigeria when we had real democracy. But since 1993, every year we pick one day and say it is democracy. And yet, look at what happened last February, which was an assault on democracy. We keep on assaulting democracy and we deceive ourselves that we have democracy. We don't. All the things that my young ladies are complaining about is simply because we are not living in a democracy. We are living in a lawless society. Lawless. Because for democracy to work, you must have rule of law. And you have a rule of law in society so that the behavior of other individuals will become predictable. But now, like being in a traffic jam, if you are driving on a traffic and there's traffic light there, And we can't agree whether green is for me and red for you. So if I have green, I go. If you have that, you stop. But when it is green for me, you tell me it is your turn to pass. And so you create a confusion in the minds of people. Democracy without rule of law is a sham. And this is the situation we are in Nigeria now. Everything you can complain of is that is happening. You trace it back, it is because we are living in a lawless society. So until we decide that our democracy will be run according to the Constitution and according to rule of law, we are just deceiving ourselves. So if I were to say what I like to see in Nigeria, is a situation where all of us agree to be bound by what constitution we have made, even when the constitution is not perfect. And in the constitution on how to amend it. Until we get a constitution that all of us will be prepared to obey, respect, and so on. So right now, if you ask me, we don't have democracy in Nigeria. It's not yet to huru. I'm done. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, Elder Iliazu. We have Malik Agbalaya. Malik. Can we have Malik?
For 2 minutes, please,
Yes.
because we are running out of time.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Komechi, it's your Malik Agbalaya from UK. I came in. Ambassador Nkoyotoyo, good to hear you, and I'm happy to be part of this. I want to start by appreciating the last, Dr. Idika Kalu for his submission. I think he has comprehensively covered the challenge. I think we can say he has made the keynote address, and he has addressed a lot of issues. But moving forward, because of time, I think this opportunity should give us two things. One, to look at what we have been doing, what has been our engagement pre-1993 and after it. And of course, what is our position now as a civil society? Have we really done what is right? Are we on the right track? And the issues that is topical now, which is the issue of the subsidy removal. What is our position on it? I mean, if you have this kind of talk shop where we come and appraise the issue, there should be a takeaway. And for me, I think the takeaway should be what happened pre-SAP when we had what we call alternative to SAP. There should be a position, having people like His Excellency PeterObi, Dr. Idika Kalu, Ambassador Nkoyotoyo, the chief himself. We should have a summit of alternative to subsidy, where of course all civil society, because somebody said, I think it was Dr. Komechi that said it, what is the responsibility of we that we call ourselves civil society? We should have a clear-cut position on this and present to government. And I think that is the way forward. The issue of democracy, the issue of Republican government by the people, these are ongoing, but we should pick the topical issues, address it, and pass it to the government and ensure that we pursue it to logical conclusion where our people, the masses, will believe in our position. I think that is what should be our position going forward. Thank you very much, sir. I'm back to my base in England. I'm following you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Malik. Know you very well. You have been steadfast since your university days.
Thank you, sir.
Well done for carrying on. The representative of the NLC president is here. I can't see his microphone. Comrade Adeyanju of the Maritime Workers. I don't know if he's, let me see. Comrade Adeyanju, it's written Adeyanju. Yes, down here. He's in, but does he have a mic?
No.
Comrade Adeyanju.
He's not yet fully in. Can we take Oloye? Adeniji.
Oloye Adeniji.
For 2 minutes, while we sort him out, while we sort the comrade out.
Oloye Adeniji, quickly, please. Straight to the point. Concrete suggestion, concrete proposal. What is to be done after this meeting? What should we do as civil society? How do we effectively engage government? Oloye Adeniji.
Thank you so very much. It is a very, very great day for us to remember the struggle of good truth. The way forward is quite simple, but we need the mass of the people to be able to push it. Social welfare infrastructure should be reactivated. And education to remove illiteracy. Illiteracy is the tool that the imperialists and some other arms of government in Nigeria used to keep their people down so that they are not influenced by technology and knowledge. You see? So we must tackle illiteracy so that we can have people that are knowledgeable enough to apply knowledge positively. You see, Nigeria should not be returned back to any tribal sentiment. But along the line, since 1993, the civil society organizations have tried, but the issue of transaction in our democracy has held our people down. Transaction government, transactional behavior of people. So we have to move away from that. We have to ensure continuous engagement with the government. The truth of the matter is that the economy does not know tribe, does not know religion. So with education, we enlighten the people, our masses, the Agberos in Lagos. They are homeless. They sleep under the bridge, but they are used for nefarious activities. You see? So please, we have to really come up with strategy to engage, enlighten, and educate the mass of the people so that they will know their rights and be able to claim it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oloye Adeniji, thank you. I think we are coming to the end. I don't know whether Comrade Adeniji is in. Otherwise, we have to begin to collate the points and then have a plan of action from Ambassador Okoye-Otoyo. Tell us what to do going forward because we have a lot on our table now. It's not just going to be a talk shop, but it's going to be an action plan so that there will be action. It's not, we are not just doing this because we want to know what to do. And this is part of the consultation, that the people's consultation going forward in engaging the question of electoral crisis and subsidy crisis. So is Comrade Adeniji there? Comrade Adeniji, if he's not there, then let me yield the floor for Ambassador Okoye-Otoyo to help us put together the points and the plan of action going forward, what we should be doing and who is to be doing what and what are the timeline. Because today, people are expected to demonstrate their rejection of the outrageous hike in fuel price, various ways. They are expected to also post it to our site so that we know what they have done. We are supposed to put up inscription and slogans that clearly demonstrates our rejection of the price and post it. Also to work and march during our program, to various points to show our displeasure. And that will continue until government listens to the people. It will continue. We will not rest until government listens. And that is, we should all take this back. And so we strategize on how to educate the people and to mobilize them. But then, if we have Comrade Adeniji to talk to us, otherwise I'll hand over So Comrade Adeyanju is here, but I think it's just on video without a mic. Ambassador, what is the problem?
Thank you, Che, thank you very much. I don't know why he hasn't got a mic on, himself and Chris. I don't know what the technical problems are at his own end, but I think we need to round up because we've spent over 3 hours now to bring this meeting to a close. If we cannot get the input of Labour, we have heard from some of their key associates. Dr. Agari was here with us. And
she's still here.
Okay, Dr. Agari is still here.
You're
Thank
still
you.
here.
Yes. So I think what we need to do is to summarize and probably call the meeting to a close. Some people have already left. Our leader, PeterObi, has left, so we need to close the meeting at some point soon. Should I do the summary now?
Yeah, you have to do just let the people know that Comrade Ajaero is with us. The message is to say that Solidarize is with us, and then they will reach out more, and they are ready to go all the way on this current struggle for first subsidy. They are sent Comrade Ajaero, and also that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was unable to join us because he was working on something at that time. He sent a message to me directly, and I got and I said I will relay that. He said he's with us too, and it's ready for us whenever we are ready. But presently being attended to by some experts on certain critical personal issue. So I yield the floor to you, Madam Nkoyo, to help us with the summary of the plan of action. What are we going to do? What is imagined? What will be our intervention? And so on. So that whatever we take from here can also be submitted as a communique to the public, to government, to all other stakeholders. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chair, and thank you to all who have stayed up with us onto this very end. During the course of our conversation, we had well over 70 people join and leave at different times. And so it's been a very engaging interaction. We are excited by it. As you can see, the turn of events have been very, it's almost on a roller skate. We don't have the luxury of time to begin to ask ourselves, are we doing things right or are we doing things wrong? Because things are evolving every day. Before you wake up, government is doing a new thing. Before you wake up, another new thing is on us. Another new thing is on us. Another new thing is on us. But we have decided from what we have seen, with the two themes that we have taken on board. And let me please thank my elder from my church, Dr. Eleazu. Amazing, I haven't seen him in over 20 years. Elder, nice to hear your voice, and thank you very much for your kind words. I totally agree with you, and that was my point, and the point of our group is that we must return to a rules-based democracy. So we are very much in tune with the points that you have made. We have seen the argument on the side of the democratic work which we have to do. That work is we must return to a more predictable democracy, one which the citizens have a voice in, one which the citizens have their mandates respected and not thrown. And that's what June 12 represents. June 12 represents 30 years of demanding that the people's mandate must be respected. And what we intend to do, apart from going through this recorded message of today's meeting, is to also aggregate all the comments, because I know that many Nigerians have spoken today, including the president and many others. We must begin to aggregate those voices and make them the voices that resonated today with the pro-democracy celebrations that we have had. So there is enough information out there beyond even what we have said in this meeting to give us a sense of what Nigerians feel and what Nigerians want. But from us, the takeaway is that we must return to a democracy which respects our voices. And that this space we are articulating from is a space that is ours and we must own, keep, and use it. There are many who think we have not done enough. We need to do a lot more. Some people think that we should be on the streets. Some people think we should do many more other things. Again, we reminded ourselves at the very beginning that a lot of what we are angry about on the one side, which is the outcome of the last elections, are before the courts. We also have to respect the sanctity of the judiciary and see what comes out of that process before we take steps that may be counterproductive in terms of what we hope to gain in the long term. So in the end, on that pillar of today's meeting is to hold this space, make sure this space is respected. And how do we do that? We will aggregate the points that have been made on this platform, as well as the points that have been made broadly by many in Nigeria and across Nigeria, to bring that voice back to the citizens of the country and make them realize that indeed there are people who are saying that what is going on in Nigeria today is totally unacceptable. On the second arm is the question of the subsidy. Everyone who has spoken, Dr. Idika Kalu has given us a menu on which we can now go back and rebuild a very solid statement, which we would make available to the public as the reasons why we are in this debate, and seek a dialogue in our own rights, seek a dialogue in our own rights on how we want the country to proceed with the implications of some of the very callous decisions that have been taken already. So going forward, we have work to do. The first piece of work we have to do is to generate a press release based on this meeting and also based on what we are hearing across Nigeria from different sources, from different people who have spoken today about what the issues are. We need to do an analysis of what people are saying. And then in addition, is to begin to build our base, to broaden the base. I think what is not in doubt from today's meeting is that we do have a leadership in this group that can propel this arguments forward and bring the awareness and consciousness at the highest possible levels of Nigeria and government. Our leader, PeterObi, was here, Atiku is with us, although he wasn't here in person, and many others indicated interest to be with us. And these are all avenues and channels through which we can take our messages through. And once we get these press releases out, we are going to make sure all of them receive a copy of it and they begin to use it as a tool for making demands on the government and on the different players within the political space. We have to build our own base too. There is a lot of work to be done in building our own base. We need to go back and sit with labor and find out how we can work better with them in terms of the disappointments that have already taken place in the last couple of days when the negotiations and the calling off of the strike action happened. We need to go back and work on all of that. It's not going to be an easy road, like Otumba Shegun has told us. It's going to be a long journey. The important thing about our group is that there are veterans here. These are people who have been at on this path for many decades, 30 years and more. So this is not new to them. If they have spent 30 years and can return 30 years later to celebrate something they did 30 years ago, or to make points around that, I don't think the journey of 4 years is too much for them. We will continue to make this point. We will continue to demand these voices. We will continue to hold on to our space. And God, with being with us, we will definitely have some sort of recognition for all the things that have gone wrong with our country. People are hungry for a different Nigeria, and we represent the voices of those people who want a different Nigeria. Thank you very much. I will leave it there, and I think if Che has anything to add, he can add.
Yes.
Otherwise, at this point in time, yeah. Thank you. That's
thank you. Vote of thanks. To thank you and all our panelists and speakers and all those who have attended this, to appreciate them and say the work ahead is enormous, but we can get it done. we can recover our country from the hand of the cartel that is ruling us if we stand up and be counted. We can also be dynamic these days of social media and so on in raising our protest. The protest must go on. The protest must be nationwide. The protest must be national. We cannot afford to be docile at this time. Otherwise, our humanity is taken away. The whole common destiny is taken away. So we'd like to thank you. We'd like to appreciate everybody, but there must, protest is a constitutional right of citizens. You must be peaceful. But protest it is. The police is expected to give you protection when you just notify them. Or even if they see you on the street, they give you protection. So it's not something that is evil. And Tinubu and some also protested. He joined our protest, I think beginning from 1993 or so, or 1994. He joined us at the level of the campaign for democracy. Tinubu joined us then. Is that Comrade Ajaero?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, Comrade Ajaero representing NLC president. Why one now? So just address us on behalf of Labour. That's our comrade representing NLC president. Just
sorry
1 minute.
Sorry for the mix-up here and there. The network has been so funny. On behalf of Nigeria Labour Congress, we want to celebrate all our leaders that the commitment from Nigeria Labour Congress is solid. So very soon we are going to get back to the movement. Thank you on behalf of the Nigeria Labour Congress.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ajaero, of the maritime workers. We appreciate you.
Thank you,
sir.
You have
been very
sir.
steadfast. We appreciate the NLC. NLC is steadfast too. People misread or misconstrue NLC at times. I laugh. If they know Ajaero very well, they will not, but I laugh. It's also trying to be, these are veterans who are dogged. You know, they don't know, but wisdom. We need a lot of wisdom, particularly when people are getting black market order, you know, from court. So we appreciate the Nigerian Labour Congress and everybody who has taken time to be part of us. We have plan of action. Madam Nkoyo is going to help us to issue or put together the communique, and then we are going to follow it. We are going to implement it together because we did this together. So we'll be ending this with our solidarity song. That is not we shall overcome. There is victory for us. There is victory for us. That is the one where we're going to be taking in rounding up the 30th anniversary commemoration of the June 12 Democracy Day. There is victory for us. 1, 2. There is victory for us. Victory. There is victory for us. In the struggle for Nigeria. Please push everybody. There is victory for never in the struggle, for Nigeria. I've not said anything. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Bye.